Hey there, I'm Dori with the blog This Full Life 5, and today I want to talk to you about how to paint your kitchen cabinets the right way. Painting your kitchen cabinets is a huge job, and if you don't know how to do it, there's several tips that you need to know before you get started. Painting your kitchen cabinets is a great way to give them a fresh update without spending a lot of money. So let's dive into some tips on how to do the job the right way. Let's talk first about the tools that you need to get started. You're going to need a roller, and I recommend a longer one so that you can reach high up on your cabinets, and then also a smaller, this is a 4-inch roller with a 4-inch roller pad. This is what I recommend for your cabinets. You can use a foam roller or you can use a nap roller. Either one is fine and will do a great job, but I recommend the smaller size. I really like the way that this roller comes around the end here so it can get into those nooks and crannies. It's really helpful. So this is what I recommend for your kitchen cabinets. You can use a roller on your kitchen cabinets. That's a question people often ask, and yes, you can, and in fact I recommend it. It gives your cabinets a really smooth finish, so you can definitely use a roller. You'll also need a paintbrush though to get into those corners and edges and stuff that the roller won't reach into, and even just to edge between the wall and your cabinets, you're gonna want a paintbrush. And so I recommend this angled paintbrush. It's perfect for getting right there on the edge. I don't know about you, but I don't like to tape off when I'm painting, because a lot of times even when I do take the time to tape off, the paint will seep underneath the tape, and then I end up having to go back in and fix it anyway. So I just use my angled paintbrush, and I'm really careful, and I go along the edges, and it works great. Obviously you'll also need a paint tray. You'll need a little can opener, paint can opener. Make sure you have a stir stick to keep it mixed up well. And you'll want drop cloths. You may want a ladder, depending on how tall you are. I'm pretty short, so a ladder comes in handy when I'm having to paint somewhere up high. And so these are the tools that you are going to want to have on hand before you get started painting your cabinets. Obviously you'll need your paint also, and I'm going to talk about that here in just a few minutes. Now let's go over what surfaces you can paint. Obviously you can paint over wood. You can paint over wood that's been painted before, and you can also paint over laminate, although be aware that the finish on it probably won't last as long as it would if your cabinets were a solid wood, but that doesn't mean you can't paint over them. You just need to make sure that you use a really high quality primer first. But you can definitely paint over wood cabinets or a laminate cabinet. Now let's talk about what you need to do to prep your cabinets to get them ready for paint. This is a step that a lot of people skip, and you do not want to skip this step. If you skip prepping your cabinets, then the finish on your cabinets will not last as long. So be sure and take the time to do the prep work before you even start painting. So first you need to clean your cabinets really well. Make sure you get all the dust and grease and everything else off of your cabinets so that the paint can adhere to the surface. And also, if you have a really shiny wood, you'll want to either sand it down a little bit or use a deglosser. And I'm going to link a deglosser below that will actually both clean and degloss your cabinets in one step so that you can get that done in a quicker amount of time. A frequently asked question when painting your cabinets is, do I need to remove the cabinet doors? And most professionals will recommend that you remove your cabinet doors. We did not remove our cabinet doors to paint, and it worked out fine for us. Really, if you decide not to remove your cabinet doors, you have two choices there. You can either tape over your existing hinges so that you don't get paint on them and just paint around them, or you can just paint over them, which is actually what we decided to do. Our hinges were white, and we just didn't want to go to the trouble of replacing them at this time, and so we chose to paint over our hinges. It worked out fine for us. I know not everybody's going to want to do that, but that is another option. So we left our cabinet doors on and we painted over the hinges. If you do decide to remove your cabinet doors, make sure that you label them, maybe with numbers or letters, and then put the corresponding hardware in a baggie with that same number or letter so that you can keep the doors and the hardware together. So when you go to reinstall those cabinet doors, you know exactly where they go and what hardware goes with it. You will go ahead and need to remove your drawers so that you can paint the base of your cabinet without getting the paint on the inside of your drawers. The next thing I want to talk about is primer. Do you need to prime your cabinets before you paint them? And I say yes. Even if your cabinet paint says that you don't need to prime before using the paint, I suggest that you prime anyway. I've had so many frustrations from not priming first with paints that claimed that you didn't need to prime before using them. And especially in your kitchen, this is not a job that you want to have to do twice. And so I would definitely prime your kitchen cabinets first with a high quality primer. I really like Valspar's high hiding primer, tinted to the color that you intend to paint your cabinets, and then give it that coat of primer so that it has that extra grip to adhere to for your cabinet paint. All right, let's talk cabinet paint. How do you decide on what paint to use? There are several paints out there that are formulated for your cabinets. You definitely want to pick a paint that is an enamel. You want a cabinet enamel because enamel is a harder finish than paint and it will hold up better into the wear and tear in your kitchen. So definitely pick a paint that is a cabinet enamel and make sure that you pick a high quality paint. For our cabinets, we chose Valspar's cabinet and furniture enamel, and so that's what we used on our cabinets. I will do a review on that paint in the next few months here. I wanted to give it a little bit more time to see how it holds up on our cabinets since they're freshly painted before I give that review, but that is the paint that we chose for our cabinets. And so you're gonna want to pick a high quality enamel cabinet paint. Now let's get into how to paint your cabinets. If you've decided to remove your doors, then you need to have an area set up either in your garage or outside or wherever that you can set those cabinet doors up in a good place for you to be able to paint them. If you have removed them, then you can go ahead and start with the base of your cabinet and paint the base of your cabinet with that primer and give it plenty of time to dry. Usually the primers don't need as much time to dry as the actual cabinet enamel needs to, but between each coat you can usually recoat within a couple of hours after you've primed. So just make sure that you check your paint can and see how much time that you need to allow before applying your cabinet enamel. And if you are removing your doors, then make sure that you allow enough time for it to dry before you flip it over to paint on the other side, because you don't want your paint to peel off or to mess up that paint job. If you're leaving your cabinet doors on, then you can see how we did it. I recommend, if you have raised panels on your cabinet doors, to start in the middle and paint the center of the door and then move out to the trim, and then open your cabinet door and paint the inside, and then paint the base of your cabinet. Once you've given it, again, that first coat of primer, let it fully dry before you start back at the beginning with your first coat of cabinet enamel. You're just gonna repeat that process, painting in the center of the door, working your way to the outside, then the inside, and then the base. Or if you've taken your cabinet doors off, then you will give it that second coat, let it fully dry, flip the door over to give it the second coat on the other side as well, and then give it that second coat on the base. You most likely will need to apply a third coat of paint. I always have had to do that third coat, but you can definitely check it out and see what it looks like when you get done with your second coat of paint. Once you have put your final coat of paint on, you need to allow it to completely dry for 24 hours. Once your cabinets have been drying for 24 hours, you can go ahead and reinstall the doors and the drawers if you removed the doors from your cabinets. And then you can go ahead and reinstall the hardware, the knobs and the pulls on the drawers. But only give your cabinets a light use for the first 3 days while the paint enamel continues to harden. And it will continue to harden over time, even after that 3-day period. But after 3 days, they are really dry and they've had time to cure. And so you can not worry as much about being so careful with them. So you definitely want that 3-day time there to allow it to fully cure before you use your kitchen extensively, so that you can ensure that your paint job lasts a long time. There's a few other questions that I want to cover before I wrap this up. A lot of people ask, do you need to sand your cabinets before painting them? The cabinet enamel that we used claimed that you did not need to sand your cabinets before painting, but if you look at the fine print on the back of the can, it said that if you have a high sheen on your cabinets, then you would want to go ahead and give them a light sanding. Or if you have a laminate cabinet, you would definitely want to rough it up a little bit or use a primer to make sure that the cabinet enamel adheres to the surface. So there are a couple of instances where you might want to go ahead and sand, so it just depends on what your cabinets look like. Another question is, what sheen can I use on my cabinets? I don't recommend matte and I don't recommend eggshell. Those finishes are hard to clean up, and since your kitchen gets a lot of wear and tear, you need to be able to clean them up easily with soap and water. And so semi-gloss is ideal, with satin coming in a close second. Most cabinet enamel paints are going to come in semi-gloss. One reason I chose Valspar's cabinet and furniture enamel was because they offered it in a satin finish, and that's what I wanted. I didn't want quite that high gloss, and so they offered it in satin, and so that's what we went with, but you can choose either one for your cabinet. Another frequently asked question is, how do I paint my cabinets without leaving brush marks in the finish? Most cabinet enamel paints now have a self-leveling component in them. The paint levels out and the brush marks go away. So just pay attention to your paint can and see what it says about brush marks. A lot of them will claim no brush marks. Also make sure that you're using a high quality paintbrush when you paint your cabinets. Don't use a cheap paintbrush, use one that's a high quality paintbrush for that smooth finish. For more tips on how to paint your cabinets, I am going to link below to my blog post, and I'm also going to link to a friend of mine, Kate, over at West Magnolia Charm. She and her husband own their own paint company in New Jersey, and she has a great post with some more tips on how to get a great finish when painting your kitchen cabinets. And so if you want to check out some more tips, definitely check out her article. I will link that below. I'll also link all of the supplies that we used below to paint our kitchen cabinets. Like I said, I will do a review of the paint that we used here in a few months and give you an update on how our kitchen cabinets are doing, but so far we love them. So thanks for watching today. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I put 2 new videos out each week, and so I'd love for you to follow along, and we will see you soon.